Here at McMurray headquarters, where we're judging the Magnum Opus Awards today.
I'm Amanda Myers, and I am a content editor here at McMurray.
So you looked at how many entries?
I looked at 7 entries, and I picked 2.
2 to go ahead for the more judging.
And
Okay.
the publication, like Acura, does have like more of a modern look to it. So by keeping up with the trends of design, keeping it streamlined, simple, people aren't going to feel like your company is dated when they look at your. They're going to feel like you're up on the trends and you're up on the latest. So you're informed. So it kind of builds credibility.
So 2 of these were reasonable symbols and impressive symbols of the organizations.
Right.
Okay.
And yeah, the other ones were really good tries.
My name's Mark Oxborough. I'm the design director here at McMurray. Well, maybe let me tell you about the judging process for me.
Yeah.
How I approach something like this.
Yep.
Where I've been asked to look at the overall quality of the magazine, and basically my first pass is as a reader. So I grab the magazine, I look at the cover, I turn off the kind of judge inside, and just as a reader, did I find something interesting? Was there an interesting image? Was there a series of great cover lines? Was the composition of the cover itself, did it grab me? And then I just sort of start leafing through pages. And again, am I able to detect an interesting, consistent voice? Is the identity of the magazine carried throughout all of the pages? For some of these larger publications that are have lots of ads, is the editorial clearly demarcated from the ads? As a reader, am I able to tell where I am in the magazine? So my first pass through is pretty casual. I'm just flipping through pages as a reader might when they pick up the magazine, looking for things of interest, kind of judging whether I'm able to navigate the magazine easily. Then I go back and kind of put on my critical hat and start to examine things in more detail. What's the approach to typography? How do they handle tricky things like infographics or reader-supplied photos, for example? You know, some of the less than perfect things that art directors and editors might have to deal with. And then I look for, maybe as a counterbalance to kind of rigid consistency, I look for surprises. You know, have I gone through a couple of department pages and then I land on a full page infographic or something that, while still having the magazine's voice and tone, is a delightful surprise. So those are some of the things that I'm looking for as I go through the publication, and the 6 or 7 magazines that I identified for kind of final judging, I think all share those characteristics.
Sam Middlestead, I'm the senior content editor.
How many entries were there? Was it a dozen entries or something like that?
I had probably about 40.
Okay,
actually.
so you had a lot to read.
I did. Yes.
And how many went on?
I did 7.
So you sent 7 on.
I sent 7 on.
So that's pretty tough. You eliminated 33.
I did. Actually.
Was it easy to eliminate those? Some
of them were easier to eliminate than others. Long stories with no breaks, with no subheads. It's if I, as an editor who am judging something professionally, if it can't keep my interest, why is it going to keep your reader's interest?
Yeah.
You know, the ultimate idea is you have to engage your reader, and just something where a publication that's filled with long copy and no breaks and no explanations, you're going to lose them. You lost me.
I'm Erica Brooks, and I'm an art director.
Just judged single feature photography. And what were your general impressions?
There was a lot to choose from. I really liked this feature about tea, and what I thought was neat about the way the photographer captured it and the way it was presented was that the tea was the subject of the photo and was the hero of it. So even though there are people in there, they're not the main focus. You don't really get too close detail on their face, but instead the tea itself gets to be the star.
And what did you see that was that made it easy to eliminate some of these?
Some I felt like for some there were a lot of good pictures, and the photo editor or art director had a hard time narrowing down their choice, and so cluttered the page with lots of pictures rather than picking 1 or 2 that really told the story the best way.
Yeah.
Others, there was a really good series of portraits that I liked, but they were so small that I felt like you didn't get a chance to really know the person, and trying to find that balance between the copy about the person and the image itself.
It's the oldest problem in the world.
Yeah,
Photos too small, isn't it?
So I'm Sandra Marquez, and I'm a senior content editor here at the Association Pubs.
Okay. All right, so let's look at these
Leading
babies.
contender, in my opinion, is the Melbourne Cup Carnival publication.
Yep.
And I just really felt that it was newsstand quality, both editorially and design. It's not easy to illustrate horses and tell the story about them. I just want to point out that the photography for this spread, it is exceptional. It's just gorgeous.
It's stunning.
It really.
Kari Redfield, I'm a senior content editor here at McMurray. I work on a lot of our digital
And
projects.
what were your impressions?
Well, I was a little disappointed, I must admit. One of the articles I read was very, it was a story about the origin of sort of this foundation, and it was, you know, it was really not very, so an article like that where you're talking about sort of, you know, how your amazing research foundation and program and facility that's doing really groundbreaking work. I mean, you could go, there's so many ways you could approach it, you know, in the lab with the scientists and their passion coming through, as opposed to sort of just recapping some of the milestones that have happened over the years.
One thing that I've seen more and more in the last few years, and I've even had to kind of keep an eye on it in my own work, is the idea of making sure that we're designing for the medium that the information is going to eventually appear in. In print design, that sometimes manifests itself as headlines and type that are either huge or tiny, because the designer seemingly has never actually printed out the pages. You know, as we put together more and more of these things on screen and become more and more familiar or used to seeing information that way, sometimes we don't do that kind of quality check of making sure that when it's outputted at a fixed size, you know, the reader can't zoom in other than putting the magazine closer or further away from their face when they're dealing with a printed piece. And so some of the publications started out with good intentions or smart ideas, but the headlines are completely out of scale to the page, or the body copy is tiny.